Hello loves, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing an Orisha story time. So I hope you guys are ready because we haven't done one in a minute, and I love doing these with you guys because it's just really important to study our traditional stories that come straight from the motherland. So this book will always be linked in the bio for those who want to buy it. It is a little expensive, but it's totally worth it because it's literally a textbook. Like, look how thick she is, okay? She thick. I already have the story that we're doing today. Very appropriate for the times and the energy and the vibes of where we're at. Is giving Leo season, honestly. So we're gonna dive in with the story for today, but I just wanted to make sure I let you guys know if you want to get your hands on this book, it will be linked down below. I do recommend it. It is a really good book to have as a resource, especially because stories, oral tradition, are the traditional way that indigenous peoples globally have been passing down not only like lessons but knowledge. And if you're trying to get into studying the Orishas or different African spiritual beings, this book is a resource. So link down below. With that being said, we are going to open the scripture and we're going to talk about what the story is for today. It is a little long, but we're gonna read it anyway, and then we're gonna discuss, as always, like the Orisha storytime videos are always meant to be educational. So we're breaking down the stories, we're asking questions, and we're looking at and deep diving into the context, what we can take from the story, what we're learning, what that tells us about the Orisha that's being mentioned, and how we're better understanding them, right? So the story that we're going to be talking about today is going to be on page 192, so you can see right there, okay? And it is number 3, okay? It is called Osun and Her Magical Spells, and the second I read the title, I was like, why do I feel like this is going to be Leo vibes? So very appropriate for the time of year that it is. If you are like watching this video when it's not Leo season, hello and welcome, but this video is definitely being recorded in Leo season, and you might be able to recognize the parallels of what we're going to be talking about in the story with the energy of the times. Okay, with that being said, let us dive in. After Ogun left Ile Ife to live in the forest, his skills as a blacksmith were missed by the inhabitants. The Orishas, with the exception of Nana Buruku and Olo Okun, because there's 2 O's, went to the forest to try to convince Ogun to return to Ile Ife and start foraging iron again. Every attempt to bring him back to the Ile Ife failed. Anyone who tried was met with aggressive reaction from Ogun. The villagers were restless because their agricultural tools were old, broken, and unfit to properly work the fields. They were in a desperate need of new ones, but there were no blacksmiths available. The people pleaded with the Orishas for help as they were on the brink of starvation. One day, as the Orishas gathered to try to find a way to get Ogun to return to Ile Ife, a young female Orisha appeared and asked them to let her try. The older Orishas were outraged by the daring young deity's request. "Who are you to make such a request?" She replied, "I am Osun." The Orishas argued about having such a young girl dealing with the tempestuous moods of Ogun. One Orisha said, "Ogun could be a savage and she will never have a chance." Another one said, "Ogun will kill her with one strike of his sword." None of the Orishas' comments seemed to scare Osun. She insisted, "You shall allow me to try because I have special powers and secrets I can use to allure Ogun back to Ile Ife." Once again, the Orishas argued over the matter except for Orinsala, there we go. Okay, he was the wisest of all Orisha. He just listened to what everybody said. At the end of the discussion, he said, "I hear your arguments, and I know that none of us was able to convince Ogun to return to Ile Ife. Therefore, I see no harm in letting young Osun try, because perhaps she does have powers that we do not possess, and her secrets may well be the key to bringing Ogun back. In respect to Orinsala's wise observations, Orisha ceased their arguments and agreed to let Osun try. Osun got ready and went into the deep forest. Once there, she took off her clothes and draped 5 golden veils over her naked body. As soon as she noticed that Ogun was near, she began humming a magical sound, dancing, playing with the veils, covering and uncovering parts of her body. As Ogun approached her to get a better look, she moved back a few steps. In this manner, Osun slowly danced her way through the forest. She acted as if she were unaware that Ogun was following her. Along the way, she smeared the leaves of the trees with aromatic honey containing a magical spell. As Ogun smelled it, he could not help but lick the honey off the leaves. He fell under Osun's sweet spell, and she lured Ogun all the way to the center of Ile-Ife, where the people and their Orishas were gathered awaiting her return. When they saw Osun arriving closely followed by a mellowed Ogun, they cheered and praised them. From that day on, Ogun decided to stay in Ile-Ife and return to work as a blacksmith. He remained under her sweet and powerful spell, the spell of the gracious young Osun, for a long time. And if you know Osun's story, when it comes to Ogun, a lot of people like to, talk about when it comes to Osun's relationship with Chango. But Osun's relationship with Ogun is also really important if you know Osun's history. So I love the story because, one, you can take so much, so much from this. First and foremost, the part of the other Orishas really arguing amongst themselves, we can't just send her in there. But it only takes one person that, it's trustworthy or has some sort of status within the collective of them to be hey, well, we all kind of failed, so let's give her a chance. It's really important to note that, because how that reflects in real life is when it comes to kind of co-signing people, right? So let's say you trust me for certain things and I recommend somebody to you, or I recommend a thing to you, or I am yo, you need to try this, or you need to go to this place, or you need to try this food or whatever, and you're you know what, I want to try this, or maybe somebody else that I don't know, their taste was I have this thing personally where, for me, I have this rule that if you recommend food to me, you only get one chance, and if it doesn't hit, I will never trust you with food again. I have that thing. So for me, it's it's kind of the cosign of having someone else say, you know what, hey, yeah, let's give this a chance, let's see how this works. This is also something that really mirrors younger generations and the way that some elders or some older folks don't like to kind of take younger minds into looking at their ideas as something that is tangible or smart, or I don't think we should try that because we all try, there's a sense of one of the things I love when it comes to the younger generations is a lot of the inventions that are coming out of the younger generation, so Gen X, Gen Z, all of that, because there's a lot of people within the younger generations that have created a lot and invented a lot of different things that are used to right now help fix the environment and stuff like that are so important. And if you didn't have somebody listening to those ideas and actually saying, you know what, let's put money behind this and see how we can make this something that's bigger, that can help everybody, if we didn't listen to younger folks who have really big, bold, grand ideas, it would unfortunately only create and keep a system where we only listen to those who are older. And yes, elders are very important. Older people and their opinions can be very important. Not everybody's, but the experience of time is very important, right? I'm not knocking that down. However, Osun being the essence of the youth, right? The essence of let me try my way, because right, the Orishas all rule different things. So if she has her way, and her way is going to be different than everybody else's way. And a lot of the time when it comes to if you're really good at something, or if there's someone who's really good at something, they're only looking at certain things from their expertise, their knowledge, their experience, their time that they invested into certain things. So they might not always be open to looking at a different perspective on the same exact topic or problem or issue that needs to kind of be resolved, right? And so when you're looking at this story, it's teaching you about being a little bit more open and being flexible to trying something different and having a different approach to a problem. This specific story also mirrors a lot of the time when I say like, hey, you know, sometimes you don't need to hex that person. Sometimes you need to sweeten them to get what you want, right? It doesn't always need to be a offensive kind of approach. Like if you're only approaching it through one way, it brings me back that Einstein quote where it's like, you know, doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity, and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity, because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You have to try something different. And a lot of the time, especially when it comes to younger people, they have a different way of looking at it because they come from a whole different generation. They can see things a little bit differently, and they can be a little bit more playful, right? It really taps into our inner child to be a little bit more playful and say, you know what, I'll try it this way. It's kind of like when you used to play with toys, you used to fit the box in the try to fix the box in the circle and try to kind of make it a different way, try to find a different way to do the thing that was structured and created to work in a specific way. It's kind of like that. Like kids are gonna have, and younger folks are gonna have a different way of approaching different problems. And so the fact that it really took a cosign, and sometimes it takes a cosign, sometimes it takes an adult to say, wait, no, actually, let's try this. Sometimes it takes that one person to be a little bit more flexible. So this story is not only telling you about being a little bit more flexible when it comes to life, when it comes to different situations that you feel like you cannot find a solution for. I cannot stress that enough. That you feel like you cannot find a solution for. You cannot see the solution anywhere. It feels like, oh my God, I keep trying to find a way out of this. You might just need to try literally the opposite thing of what you were doing, or the thing that you didn't think was gonna even work in the first place. You might need to give that a chance to see where it goes. In addition to that, the story is really highlighting the fact that, again, what I said before about, like, you know, sometimes you don't need to hex a person. Sometimes you just need to, like, sweeten them, glamour them, entice them in a different way, because there are certain things in life that need to be approached differently. And so this story is also about, you know, glamour magic, right? Because her magical spells, the honey, what is it doing, right? It's sweetening Ogun, is making things sweeter. It's not somebody knocking at your door saying, hey, we need you to come back to work. Hey, we need you to come back to work. It's an enticing, like, hey, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Come here. Let's talk. Let's try it out differently. It's not in an offensive form. It's in a more like, let me talk to you nice, instead of let me talk to you like expectations. I expect you to be here. Like, look, we don't have, throwing all the problems in your face, right? As to why you're needed in a situation, instead of seeing you as like, yes, you are the solution, but look how wonderful things are when you're here, when you're just, you know, like, it's just such a vibe when you're hit. Like, it's a different energy when you're demanded versus when you are like sweetened in the space where you're just kind of like, oh yeah, I want to be here, of course. Like, what do you mean? I'm gonna stay here because I feel great being here, right? So that's what Ogun is taking from this. And obviously, again, there's a whole relationship between Osun and Ogun, so this is also obviously incorporates and dives into that. But Osun has a different approach when it comes to using her abilities in that moment in a non-offensive way. It's like diving into her own personal power, and it's like, my existence, my presence, me being exactly who I am is going to make you be part of my, you're going to want to be part of my space, you're going to want to follow me. I'm just like, and this dives into the glamour magic. And again, there's a lot of layers going on in this story, so definitely put in the comments the things that you picked up with the story as well, and your thoughts on the story, because we love to discuss. But there's that diving into glamour magic, diving into just confidence, diving into really working with the tools that you have. And this really dives into how we connect with our bodies, right? How we use our bodies, how we use different tactics for different things. I get videos all the time on my TikTok about like, oh, there was this one video I saw recently where it's like, ending an argument by getting naked in front of my boyfriend or whatever. Like, that's been a trend on TikTok for some reason. And all of the men are just like, what were we arguing about? Like, vibes. So it's really giving like glamour magic. It's leaning towards manipulation, and yeah, you know, but it's like using what you have, and what you have, whether it's your body, whether it's like your like your mind, whether it's like the tools that you have, like the honey, right? What do you have? What tools do you have to actually shift the energy, shift the situation, right? Because if you're doing it the exact same way, like a lot of the time when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to the world, a lot of people, like, if there's something going on at work, they don't necessarily see their spiritual practice as a like a solution to work problems, but sometimes it literally is. It's just like, oh, maybe I need to change my perfume, or maybe my perfume, I can enchant it, or, you know, activate it for it to be like confidence, or just like for it to make me project this energy of I can take on the responsibility, but I also, you know, I respect them enough to want to pay them properly, or pay them like really well for what all their efforts. And oh my God, you know what, I just see them in this role. I see them in this role. I see them for this promotion. I see them like, anytime you smell this perfume, you just see, you picture it, right? It's kind of like the essence of using your spiritual practice in a, especially because Ogun is representative of like work, business, you know, like things, tangible things, right? Things that you're touching, gripping, like the physical realm. That's what Ogun represents. So Osun, like leaning towards the more like allure, like how you incorporate that and bring it into like getting to work. She got to work. She just got to work differently, okay? And it works, okay? She got to work and it works. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this story. I love the story so much. This is actually one of my favorites. I actually read the story ages ago, but just revisiting it and just like connecting to it again, it's really, really beautiful. But I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Okay, we will be doing another Orisha story time. Probably, I think we're gonna keep to like once a month type of thing. And yeah, the book will be linked down below. As always, don't forget to subscribe and do all of the things. I love you guys so much. Thank you. We hit 18,000 subscribers on here, so woo! Thank you guys for all the love and support. I'm about to do all the Patreon updates, so stay tuned for all of that, because we will be having Patreon videos and stuff that will be posted soon, so keep an eye out. I love you guys.